February 19th, 2018, and your radio hosts today are
Wanda
and Jennifer Kent. We will be reading the news from the Sunday Fayeville Observer.
Need to know. Los Banos raid survivor. Hattie Kelly Stevens, who spent 3 years as a civilian prisoner at the Los Banos internment camp in the Philippines in World War II, will speak Friday about her experience. Her talk is scheduled for 11 a.m. at the Airborne and Special Operations Museum, 100 Bragg Boulevard. She also will donate a 48-star flag that flew over the camp. For more information, call 643-2778. Dancing with the Fayeville Stars. Contestants in the 10th annual fundraising competition will be announced during a preview and silent auction Thursday at Husk Hardware, 405 Hay Street. Those who attend may vote for their favorite dancer and bid on auction items. The contest, which is a fundraiser for the Center for Economic and Empowerment and Development, is April 21st at 6 p.m. at McCormick Farms. For more information, contact Alyssa Hennessy at 323-3377, extension 25. Kiwanis Pancake Sale. The 4th annual Kiwanis Club of Cape Fear Pancake Sale is Friday and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Greek Orthodox Church and Hellenic Center, 614 Oak Ridge Avenue. Tickets are $6. Patrons may dine in or take out. Bread and Bowls. The annual fundraiser, which benefits Operation Inasmuch, is Friday at Hayes Street United Methodist Church. The event features chicken, corn chowder, or chili served in a handmade pottery bowl for $20 or in a bread bowl for $10, along with a drink and dessert. Lunch will be served from 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and dinner will be served from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. Tickets may be purchased at faoiam.org. For more information, call 433-2161. We want to hear from you. Please submit your events in writing at least 10 days in advance. Email calendar@fayobserver.com or fax details to 486-3545. For questions, call 486-3500.
Fire alarm, big gunfire, stay or flee. Students and teachers respond as trained when the fire alarm sounded, streaming out of the school and toward exits only to run into deadly gunfire. 2 boys with stolen guns took aim from a wooded hill waiting for people to evacuate after one of the boys had triggered a false fire alarm. They killed 4 children and a teacher. That was 20 years ago at Arkansas West Side Middle School, before active shooter drills became part of the routine for schools across America. Students today are taught to evacuate during fire alarm, but locked down during school shootings. So there was confusion Wednesday when a fire alarm sounded, the second one that day, at a Florida high school as 19-year-old former student Nicholas Cruz unleashed a barrage of gunfire, headed for the exits or hunkered down in the classroom. As many in the U.S. schools, students and teachers at the school had trained for both responses, just not at the same time. 17 teachers and students were gunned down. Unconfirmed initial reports suggest that Cruz pulled the fire alarm himself, but authorities haven't confirmed who set the alarm in Parkland. Emergency responders say there is no single accepted set of best practices for responding to active shooter situations, and the protocols vary from district to district around the country. That includes everything from consistent drills to strategies for teachers to fight back with baseball bats and soup cans if confronted by an armed intruder. Safety experts say it's unusual for schools to encounter situations where drills contribute to confusion or are exploited to inflict more harm, though they concede the unsolvable reality of that possibility. We might be training the suspect in our drills, said Mac Hardy, Operations Director from the National Association of School Resources Officers. I mean, we understand that, we know that, but we have to also do the best we can in the situations we're in to try to keep as many students as safe as possible. drill should encourage people to think on their feet, said consultant Kenneth Trump of National School Safety and Security Services in Ohio. That might mean starting a drill when students are in the hallway or lunchrooms instead of class, or telling a teacher in the midst of a drill to pretend a particular route is blocked, Trump said. Various organizations offer guidance about dealing with an active shooter. The National Fire Protection Association is working on a proposed accredited standard for responders at the request of an Orlando area fire chief who, after the 2016 Pulse nightclub shooting that killed 49, thought it was time to have some minimum criteria that communities and facilities could consider adopting for how to prepare for and respond to such events. In Westside Consolidated School District, where the 1998 shooting occurred, a given classroom won't always use the same exit when the district does monthly fire drills required by the state. Superintendent Scott Gaunt said, "Those drills are announced to teachers in advance, and no one evacuates for an unannounced fire alarm until a staff member checks where it originated from and confirms it's a real threat," he said. If one of the 3 buildings on the campus does evacuate, those students are moved away from areas where an attacker could hide in nearby hills, and the other 2 buildings lock their doors, Gaunt said. "We're trying to do the best we can," Gaunt said. "It's amazing that this continues to happen, but at the same time, it's almost impossible to keep it from happening."
Couple donates $1 million to UNCP. A Rayford couple is donating $1 million toward the construction of a $36 million building that will house the School of Business at UNC Pembroke. The gift comes from Wyatt and Mary Upchurch. Wyatt Upchurch is a former Hope County Commissioner and owner of Tar Heel Turkey Hatchery of Rayford. "We wanted to do something in memory of our son," he said in a news release. "We did some research and felt like this would be the best opportunity for him to be remembered for a long time. This gift will be an asset to the university and an asset for us to give to the university." The Upchurch Auditorium in the new building will be named in honor of Wyatt. Jeffrey Upchurch, who died in 1976 at age 16 after battling acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The School of Business will be built near the main entrance of the campus. Included in the plans are a career center, auditorium, a video conference room, computer lab, trading room, and multimedia resource room. UNCP received $23 million from the Connect NC bond in 2016. Including the Upchurch's gift, the university has received $9 million in additional contributions from organizations and individuals. The university also has received a $3 million endowment for building maintenance and program operations.
Alright, business calendar. For a listing in the business calendar on Sundays, send events of local interest to business@fayeobserver.com. Include a phone number when emailing. Tuesday, personal budgeting and financial planning for the future. It's at 10 a.m., 230 Hay Street, Center for Economic Empowerment and Development. Instructor Stuart Walters. Information Lexi Hasafis, CED. To email is LHASAPIS@ncceet.org or call 323-3377. Commercial Applicator Recertification Training is at 10 a.m. Owens Agricultural Center is at 455 Canton Road, Lumberton. Registration information, Mac Malloy. Call 910-671-3276 or Mac_Malloy@ncsu.edu. Growing your business one relationship at a time starts at 6 p.m. at Fayeville Tech Small Business Center. Information is 978-8496. How and where to find grants starts at 7 p.m. Small Business Center, Sampson Community College in Clinton. Information Amanda Broadshaw, 910-592-7176. Again, 910-592-7176, extension 2032, or email jbradshaw@samsoncc.edu. Thursday, Great Fayeville Business Focused Hiring Event and Career Fair. Excuse me. It starts at 9 a.m. at Rudolph Jones Student Center, Fayeville State University. Many interviews at 9 a.m. Career Fair at 10 a.m. General Diversity Career Fair is 1 p.m. Information, please contact Tim Moore at 672-2415 or tmoore69@uncfsu.edu. Hoke Robeson and Scotland Tri-County Corn and Soybean Production Meeting is at 5 p.m. at Owens Agriculture Center, 455 Catton Road, Lumberton. Registration and information, please contact Mac Malloy at 910-671-3276 or Mac_MALLOY@ncsu.edu. Organized Money Series, Can My Business Partner Pay Me? Part 3 is at 6 p.m. in Fayeville Tech Small Business Center. For information, call 678-8496. Call 678-8496. Developing/activating your organization board starts at 6:30 p.m. at Bladen Small Business Center in Dublin. Information, please call Todd Linden at 910-879-5572. Remember, please call Todd Linden at 910-879-5572. Organized Money Series, Managing My Cash Flow to Grow My Business, Part 4, starts at 7:35 p.m. at the Fayeville Tech Small Business Center. For information, please call 678-8496. And that's 678-8496. On Friday, Greater Fayeville Chamber Annual Award Banquet starts at 6 p.m. Crown Complex Ballroom, which is 1960 Coliseum Drive. For more information, call Kelly Moore, 433-6775, or email her at kelly@faybiz.com. On Saturday, How to Start a Non-Profit Organization starts at 8:30 a.m. at Crestman Workforce Development Center, Robeson Community College. For information, call 910-272-3631. Being a leader for your small business/nonprofit starts at 9 a.m. Bladen Small Business Center in Dublin. Information, call Todd Linden at 910-879-5572. How to complete the 501c3 paperwork starts at 10:45 a.m. Crestman Workforce Development Center in Robeson Community College. For more information, call 910-272-3631. How to develop or restore the bylaws for a nonprofit organization starts at 1:30 p.m. at Crestman Workforce Development Center in Robeson at Robeson Community College. For information, call 910-272-3631.
Livewire. First question. I just watched a program called Why Planes Crash. Why can't parachutes be installed on planes for passengers to use when the plane is in distress? This is from JL and Hope Mills. The answer is commercial jets ferry significantly more passengers on a daily basis compared to fighter jets and military aircraft. Jumping out of the plane is basically the only way to survive in the military aircraft. According to the website Science ABC, there are a number of reasons for this. The lack of parachute training of passengers, the non-conducive design of commercial planes, the spike costs. Also, Science ABC said planned skydives occur no more than 15 to 16,000 feet above ground. Most commercial airplanes cruise at about 35,000 feet, an altitude where you won't find any breathable air. And the commercial planes fly much faster than the smaller ones. Next question. If a senior citizen needs a ride for a medical appointment like a colonoscopy, ambulatory service, surgical procedure, etc., can you provide me with a contact person to call for transportation? This is from MC in Fayetteville. Call Cumberland County Community Transportation Program to schedule a ride at least a day in advance. The telephone number is 678-7619. Livewire seeks to answer questions of general interest and consumer topics. Initials are used to identify questioners when names are given. Contact Livewire at livewire@fayobserver.com or at 486-3516.
Pinehurst man dies in wreck near home. Pinehurst. A Moore County man believed to be more than 90 years old died in a 3-car accident Saturday a few blocks from his home. The man's name has not been released because his family has not been notified. Emergency crews were called to North Carolina 211 at Murdochsville Road about 4 p.m. 2 cars, 2 Cadillacs, and a Mazda were involved. Firefighters had to use hydraulic rescue tools to pry open the driver's side door to get the man out of his car. Paramedics immediately began CPR and other treatment after he was out. Emergency officials had called for a helicopter, but it was canceled while it was on the way. The man was taken by ambulance to First Health Moore Regional Hospital, where he was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the emergency room, officials said. None of the other people involved in the accident had injuries that required them to be taken to the hospital. Officials from the Pinehurst Fire Department and Rescue Squad, Moore County Emergency Medical Service, and the Pinehurst Police Department responded to the accident.
It doesn't get better than this. Down by the sea. Glenn Crook Jr. just loved walking along the plank of the Carolina Beach Pier down Wilmington Way. He was a fisherman and liked the warmth of the summer sun and wind from the ocean breeze. He didn't land many fish. He'd take his fishing pole, get his beverage cooler, his lawn chair, and his hat. Glenn Crook III was saying about his father, who had such a passion for life and all of those he met along life's way. Then he would throw his line and see a total stranger, but not a stranger for long. He would talk to anybody, Glenn Crook III said. Glenn Cook Jr. wanted to know about their lives. He loved stories, a son would say. My grandfather was the business manager for the Fayeville Observer, and my dad worked for the Wilmington Star News when I was a boy. We were in Wilmington once, and he saw the newspaper office and wanted to stop. We went in, and he showed me where his desk used to be. I could tell he loved that job of being a newspaper man. He wasn't a journalist, but worked in advertising and sales. But a story didn't have to have a story byline to be a good story. He just liked to listen to everybody's stories and tell stories of his own. Glenn S. Crook Jr. was born May 15, 1927, to Glenn and Layla Crook in Lumberton, and eventually would find his way to Fayetteville High School, where he was as popular with classmates for his vivacious personality as the limericks and poems you can still find in school yearbooks. He was drafted into the U.S. Army during World War II, and after military service earned a business administration degree from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. He would marry the girl of his dreams, Rayetta Lee Kinney, on December 21st, 1949. They would raise 2 sons and a daughter, and he would work for Phillips 66 Petroleum and later spend 36 years as an executive with First Citizens Bank and Trust. He listened to young couples needing mortgage loans, and he listened with heart and compassion to husband and wives with their post-World War II dreams for starter homes where they could raise their families. My dad loved people, Glenn Crook III would say. He was a son of the Great Depression, and he was a student of human nature. And he loved nature, especially the beach. Glenn Crook Jr. marveled at a beach morning sunrise and the beginning of another day. He liked the feel of the sand between his toes, suntan lotion on his face, watching his children building their sand castles on the shoreline, and sunset with the wife he cherished by his side. My dad loved music and liked to dance, Glenn Cook III would say, recalling his father's ringtone of I Feel Good by James Brown. And the beach was his slice of heaven, and he would say it doesn't get better than this. Glenn and Rayetta Cook were devoted parents, not only to their son Tommy Cook, but to other children in this community with special needs. My brother Tommy was not going to graduate from school, Glenn Cook III would say. So my dad made a diploma for my brother, and my brother was ecstatic. That was my dad's heart and soul. Rayetta Cook died January 24, 2006. She has all my love, he wrote in a personalized letter, until we meet above. Glenn Cook Jr. died December 26. He was 90. His little heart, Glenn Cook III would say, just gave out. Those who attended Glenn S. Cook Jr.'s memorial service on January the 12th sang Under the Boardwalk, a beach anthem of sorts by the Drifters, and you almost could feel Glenn Cook Jr. tapping his feet to the beat and saying, it doesn't get better than this.
Why is election board fight still unsettled? Democratic Governor Roy Cooper won a big legal decision over Republican legislative leaders last month when the North Carolina Supreme Court sided with him in his lawsuit seeking to nullify a new GOP-backed elections and ethic enforcement board structure. Since then, GOP lawmakers decided to pass the third piece of legislation in 15 months, altering the board's makeup. Cooper railed against those latest changes but announced he'll let them become law anyway. The litigation isn't over, and candidate filing this year began last week, still without any seated board members. How did this happen? In December 2016, 2 weeks before Cooper was sworn in, the GOP-dominated General Assembly passed legislation combining the separate state board of elections and state ethics commission into one panel. Cooper sued because the law removed his power to appoint a majority from his party to the election board, which he argued eroded his authority to carry out election laws and protect voting rights. Republicans said requiring equal numbers of Democrats and Republicans on the panel, and other changes promoting bipartisan action. A 3-judge panel ruled the law violated the state constitution. Republicans passed an update measure last April to address some objections, but it still called for a panel compromise of 4 members each from the 2 major parties. Cooper vetoed it and lawmakers overrode him. Cooper also sued over the updated board. The trial judges upheld that law, but Cooper appealed, and in 4-3 decision, Supreme Court Justice ruled January 26 in Cooper's favor, saying the law went too far. What did the ruling say? Justice Sam Ervin V, majority opinion, said provisions concerning the board memberships and appointments taken in context with other provisions of the legislation impermissibly interfere with the governor's ability to faithfully execute the laws and are unconstitutional. Ervin highlighted provisions in which Cooper would have to choose half of the board members from a state GOP list, limits on how the board could supervise agency activities, and Cooper removing members. Why isn't the case over? The court majority sent the case last Thursday to the same 3-panel judges for further proceedings and to issue a final judgment not inconsistent with its opinions that led to maneuvering by Cooper and the legislature. Cooper said his attorneys believe the judges should have overturned the entire law. They filed a proposed order citing the portions of the opinion evaluating the unified whole and the totality of limitations placed upon the governor. Cooper said that previous laws with separate boards and Democrats holding a majority of election board positions should be restored. It's unclear what the judges specifically will do next. What do Republicans want? Legislator argues that Supreme Court ruling is narrower and only tweaks to the board's membership and Cooper's power are required. The General Assembly decided not to wait for the judges, passing legislation last week that creates a ninth member of the combined board, registered with neither major party. The bill also allows Cooper to remove board members for whatever reason. What is Cooper letting the bill become? Why is Cooper letting the bill become law? Cooper was in a bind because board altercations were attached to other legislation that he wanted, addressing public school class sizes and preschool funding. By declining to sign the bill or veto it, Cooper may put himself in a better position before the judges, or if he challenged the board's latest iterations. The bill also becomes law without his signature March 15th, giving him more time to persuade a court to agree with him. Why does this all matter? North Carolina's state election and ethics workers ensure candidates can file an election run smoothly, investigate campaign finance violations, and examine potential conflicts of interest for elected officials. Ethics and election staff still do their jobs during the ongoing litigation. However, with the board being vacant since June, decisions on statewide election policy and investigation outcomes have been delayed. Election controversies last fall also were settled in court instead. The final outcome also will complete a round in the continued power struggle between Cooper and the legislature.
This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayeville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600 or our toll-free number 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts are
Jennifer Kent
and Wanda, and we are proud to serve you today. Blurred lines. This is a really long article, Jennifer, so it may take me 3 turns to read this, okay?
Okay.
All right. Fayeville resident Fred Cutter knows his representative in the State House for years and has been Marvin Lucas. This year, he's not sure. Not that Cutter would vote for the Spring Lake Democrat. I'm about as blood-red Republican as you can get, Cutter said. But confusion over North Carolina's scrambling of district boundaries since 2016 could be a major theme of this year's crucial midterm elections. Even as candidates began filing to run last week, neither congressional nor state legislative districts are certain due to unsettled court battles over the role of race and politics in district boundaries. The courts may order more changes to districts, which could throw campaigns into chaos ahead of the May primaries or November election. The consequences of the chaos could be significant in North Carolina, a state considered in play among some observers. How well candidates are able to slice through the confusion and connect with voters in their new district could factor into whether Democrats gain seats in Congress or Republicans retain their veto-proof majority in Raleigh. The boundaries for the State House and Senate districts were significantly revised in 2017 and early this year, putting thousands of voters in Cumberland County into new districts for the first time since the 2012 election. Congressional districts remain the same as 2016 for now, but a key ruling by the nation's highest court could change that. I think it takes the most attentive of our citizenry to fully understand and realize what districts they may be in now. And even then, they're probably confused, said Provost and political scientist Michael Bitzer of Catawba College. So the average voter may feel a sense of loss and trust, loss of knowledge, a loss of connection to their government just because they don't know who representative is now. Bitzer said, "That's a dangerous thing for a democratic republic. The Constitution and laws require district maps to be revised every 10 years following the decennial U.S. Census. I don't know what decennial U.S. Census is. Every 10 years? Yeah, I don't know. The lines are adjusted by the ruling party in Raleigh to ensure that each district has about the same number of people in them. But skillful district cartographers obtain detailed information about the political leanings and votings of patterns of the residents. At the behest of the lawmakers who control the map revisions, they can draw districts into shapes that segregate the residents based on who they vote for. This is called gerrymandering, and is often done to improve one side's chances of winning elections and maintain and expand majority control of the legislature and Congress. In North Carolina, Republicans have controlled the maps since 2011. They designed districts to the detriment of the Democrats. Before then, North Carolina Democrats drew maps to harm the Republicans. My goodness. No matter who did the drawing, since the 1990s, lawsuits quickly followed the maps. In 2016, the congressional maps and legislative maps were overturned because judges found that the districts were drawn too heavily with the race of the voters as a factor. It's unconstitutional for the government to treat a person differently from others solely because of his race. The congressional maps were revised for the 2016 elections, and the legislative maps were redrawn for the 2018 ballots. In January, a federal court said the 2016 congressional maps are unconstitutional because they were partisan gerrymanders. The judges noted that a Republican leader in 2016 said North Carolina's maps were designed to elect 10 Republicans and 3 Democrats. This in a state that is so evenly divided that it elected a Democratic governor in 2016 while picking Republican Donald Trump for president. The judges said the partisan motive violated the 14th Amendment rights of voters to be treated equally by the government, and it violated their First Amendment rights to freedom of speech and association. The judges also said the partisan motivated map making interfered with the people's right to choose their representatives as stated in Article 1 of the Constitution. But North Carolina's congressional maps aren't being revised immediately to cure their unconstitutionality. Okay, I'll take a break now.
Shots fired at officer trying to pull car over. Winston-Salem authorities say a 24-year-old man has been arrested after he fired several shots from his car at an officer who was trying to pull him over. Winston-Salem police said the officer was not struck by the bullets fired at him around 11 p.m. on Thursday. Police say they found the Nissan Sentra the officer was trying to stop abandoned a short time after the shooting, and that led them to Christopher Jeter. Police said in a statement that Jeter is charged with assault with a deadly weapon on a law enforcement officer, speeding to elude arrest, no driver's license, and failing to stop at a red light.
Instead, you gonna read another one? No. Oh, alright. Instead, the case is on hold while a similar case about partisan gerrymandering from Wisconsin is pending before the U.S. Supreme Court. A decision is expected early this year. It's unclear whether the Wisconsin decision would force North Carolina to revise its maps before November. Such a decision could further confuse voters. Some candidates have been campaigning for more than a year, and the filing period starts on Monday. If the decision comes after the May primaries, the courts will have to decide whether to discard those results and call for another primary before November. Republican U.S. Representative Robert Pittenger went through this sort of drama in 2016 when the prior maps were thrown out early in the year due to their unconstitutional racial gerrymandering. New maps were drawn and the March primaries were postponed until June. With the new maps, Pittenger's 9th district suddenly was transformed from a Charlotte area territory to a mix of cities and countryside that stretched from the Queen City to Fayetteville. In the June 2016 Republican primary, some voters interviewed outside a polling site did not know which district they lived in, nor did they know who would be on their ballot. Pittenger said that as soon as the maps were made, he set out to get to know his new territory, but 2 years later he and his staff still encounter voters who don't know their district. Pittenger, whom Democrats consider vulnerable, isn't fretting about whether the maps will change again before November. "I'm just focused on doing my job," he said. "I've got enough to do trying to take care of the good folks of the 9th District and the issues ahead up here." Pittenger faces Republican primary challengers as a potentially formidable Democratic opponent, Dan McCready, who as of January had raised more money than any of the other announced candidates in the 9th District. While the congressional maps have been stable for 2 years, the court did not lock down the North Carolina State House and Senate maps for 2018 until last week, less than 3 hours before the candidates were scheduled to start filing. In Raleigh, State GOP Executive Director Dallas Woodhouse and Democratic Party Chairman Wayne Goodwin are striving to recruit candidates for all the races. Some potential candidates are finding themselves in different districts than they thought they were in, Woodhouse said. Goodwin said some potential candidates canceled their plans to run when they discovered they were in new districts. Most voters don't pay close attention to the candidates until the elections are looming, Goodwin said. With the confusion brought on by the maps, the candidates and the voters will have to work harder to get to know each other, he said. Now candidates like Republican Representative John Zoka of Cumberland County and Democratic Representative Elmer Floyd of Fayetteville are rushing to get their names and faces in front of voters in their new territories. "You have to just introduce yourself and your new to your new constituents," Elmer Floyd said. Floyd wouldn't say how he plans to do this because he has a primary opponent and does not want her to learn his strategy and tactics. Cumberland County's 4 House and 2 Senate districts saw changes for this year's election. Floyd's old District 43 played across Fayetteville and had appendages that reached into the rural areas of Cumberland County, including Grays Creek and Eastover. "It's even hooked into Hope Mills," Floyd said. "It was shaped like a wild turkey." The new District 43 is a compact shape held mostly in Fayetteville city limits. It lost Hope Mills and the rural southern and eastern Cumberland County communities, but gained urban neighborhoods in the Riley Road area near Fort Bragg. Zoka's District 45 picked up much of the territory that had been in Floyd's district. He also lost Fort Bragg, which was put into District 42. "I'm not really happy about that," said Zoka, who served at Bragg as an Army officer. Zoka said the Board of Elections can give him the names and addresses of the voters in the new district. He plans to use campaign money to send them a letter to introduce himself. He can't use taxpayer money to send official legislative mailings to the new portions of the district because technically the new boundaries do not take effect until January 1 of next year. "I think probably for the majority of voters, they're not aware of what's going on, and I don't know if they care or not," Zoka said. But even if the districts had not changed, Zoka said lawmakers and candidates need to do voter outreach and education because voters are often moving in and out. In the down ballot races, a lot of the mailers just have to do with educating who their representatives and senator is, Zoka said, and some are still unsure who their congressman is, he said.
Keep Morals Center. Hollywood actress Tachina Arnold and casting director Winston Sinclair told an audience of several hundred people at Fayeville State University on Saturday night to hold to their values and invest in themselves as they move through lives and careers. You have to make more than you keep at a certain moral Whatever your whatever your moral center is, you don't lose that, Arnold said. Sinclair said she always operated under Christian principles, and even before she became a mother, she considered whether her grandchildren would be proud to see her name in the credits of the production she worked on. She looks to see how the black characters are portrayed, she said. If there are racial epithets in the dialogue, she considered whether they are necessary for the story or just gratuitous. Sinclair and Arnold visited Fayeville this weekend for True to Yourself, a Black History Month film talk.
Shopping Expo Saturday, Sunday at Crown. The second annual Ladies Shop Till You Drop Expo is Saturday and Sunday at the Crown Expo Center. Fundraising from the event will support St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Organizers say included in the 2 days will be vendors, entertainment on stage, door prizes, food, and wine tasting. Saturday's hours are 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday is noon to 6 p.m. The first 100 patrons each day get a swag bag. Information, including the ability to purchase tickets, is available at ladiesshoptillyouDrop.com. Tickets are also available at CapeFearTix.com, at the Crown Complex box office at Leisure Travel on Fort Bragg, and by calling toll-free 888-257-6208. Vendor information is available by calling 483-0970 or 527-5994. Lafayette Memorial Park and Mausoleum has opened Fayetteville's first natural burial area at its 6701 Rayford Road location. The park dedicated about 1.5 acres to a landscape garden for brief burials of the 63-acre grounds. Green or natural burials reduce environmental impact using non-toxic and biodegradable materials such as Green Burial Council-approved caskets, burial shrouds, and embalming fluids. Highland Meadow at Lafayette West is defined as a hybrid cemetery by the GBC. In addition to the use of GBC-approved materials, the GBC prohibits the use of vaults, vault lids, concrete boxes, slabs, or partition liners in the burial plot. The Green Burial Park at Highland Meadows offers both traditional plots and smaller spaces for urns. Cape Fear Farm Credit, headquartered in Fayetteville, has announced a $15 million patronage refund to its customer owners. The refund is a distribution of the association's profits. Cape Fear has refunded more than $240 million over the past 30 years. This year's total is a record high. Cape Fear Farm Credit is an agricultural lending cooperative providing loans for land, equipment, livestock production, as well as rural home mortgages and rural living. Branches serve Cumberland, Harnett, Bladen, Hoke, Robeson, Sampson, Scotland, Columbus, Brunswick, Duplin, New Hanover, and Pender counties. Thank you, Jennifer, for getting those.
Dear Abby, my daughter and her boyfriend have been together for 4 years. Despite being almost 30, he is very immature and constantly distracted by either his phone or his video games. Abby, he travels with his PlayStation everywhere he goes. When he comes into our house, he sets up his console in the living room, puts on his headphones, and plays games all day and night. If the family asks to use the TV for a few hours, he will sit on the sofa and take a nap or pull out his phone and continue gaming. I know nothing more about him than I did the first month I met him. He is rude, boorish, self-centered, and has a criminal record, which was drugs. They live in another state, and for my daughter's sake, I tried to accommodate him. When I asked for them to visit us, not our TV, she became very defensive. Is this the new norm? Must I provide a TV in their room for when they stay? When they went to visit his family who lives near us, he took the system to their house for their 3-hour visit. How can I deal with this addiction? My daughter now wants to bring him along while we have our mother-daughter lunch and manicures. It's like he's 3 and has to tag along. He has no friends. When she goes out for a night with her girlfriends, we are expected to babysit. I've never encountered anything like this. Please advise me. Dawn Ma. Dear Dawn. Dear Dunn. I'll try, but first you'll have to admit your part is creating this problem. You have to learn to say no to your daughter and her boyfriend if you want to watch television for a few hours during their visit. Remember, if it's your home, you don't have to apologize for it. If you want a mother-daughter lunch and manicure and she wants to drag him along, say no. This is our mother-daughter time. An hour or so alone with you is not too much to ask. The solution to your problem is to stop allowing your daughter and her socially inadequate boyfriend to dictate what's happening under your roof and in your life. Until you put your foot down, nothing will change. Dear Abby, by coincidence, I have a niece and nephew who will be graduating at the same time this spring. My nephew is getting a degree from a 4-year college. My niece is getting a beautician's license from a high school trade school. She has no plans to attend college. I will be giving them both graduation gifts, but should the amount be based on their level of education or the fact that they have both completed their education? I don't want my niece to feel slighted. She chose a profession she loves but does not require further education. I also don't want my nephew to feel slighted because he worked longer at far greater expenses. Insure in the East. Dear Unsure, if you are worried that your niece and nephew will compare your gift, give each the same amount. What these gifts memorialize is not the money that was spent on their education, but rather that they have both attained the level of education for which they were working for.
Vintage campaign collectibles can come in many forms. Before the days of radio, television, and computers, political candidates spread their vote-seeking messages with reports in newspapers, printed literature, banners, stick pins, bandanas, ribbons, and even cigar boxes, ceramic figurines and tableware, sewing supplies, and more. Metal buttons were used by the mid-1800s, and printed celluloid buttons were created in 1896. Less expensive metal tabs and even paper stickers are now used. Studies show the candidates with the best slogan win more often than his or her opponent. Successful slogans have been borrowed and used by other politicians. A clean sweep represented by a man sweeping the globe to get rid of the opponents is seen for candidates in elections in Russia and India in the 1800s. Brooms, dustpans, and whisk brooms were popular symbols used on buttons and printed ads in the 1888 presidential campaign of Grover Cleveland versus Benjamin Harrison of Cleveland lost. But the actual printed words on the slogan do not appear very often. Vintage campaign collectibles are often missed because the emblem meanings had been forgotten. A pair of metal buttons shaped like whisk brooms held pictures of 2 unfamiliar older men. They were presidential candidates Grover Cleveland and Benjamin Harris. The pins sold together at a Hakes auction for just $209. There were more recent buttons including Clean Sweep, Alf Landon 1936, and Clean House, Thomas Dewey 1944 and 1948. Current prices are recorded from antique shows, flea markets, sales, and auctions throughout the United States. Prices vary in different locations because of local economic conditions. They've got some examples of some of the different things that have sold. Advertising playing cards, Edison, Mazda, Egypt, 1922, calendar girl on front, full deck. The 3 7/8 by 2 3/4 inches sells for $50. So I guess you need to be watching out just in case you run across these things somewhere, rummage sale, or even in your own house. Photography, daguerreotype, seated man, top hat, cigar, stamped White House, with a copyright of 1850. It's 4.5 by 3 1/4 inches. It's worth $70. The Coca-Cola tip tray from 1909 exhibits a girl in a blue dress, and it's a summer night scene, and the dimensions are 6 1/4 by 4.5 inches. It's worth $270. A thermometer cop directing traffic mirrored Corsall Brothers truck lines, 1940s, 50s, 22.25 inches by 12 inches is worth $483. Cash register, National Hostner Stag Bar, brass oak pointing hand, multicolor. The keys, 22.5 by 20 inches, $620. An ivory parasol handle, field workers, leaves, flowers, Continental, 11.5 inches, $690. And a Satsuma vase, Buddha, Immortal Saints, Scrolling Dragon, gold, white, and blue. Handles is 15.5 inches. Oh my goodness. Jennifer, it would be worth $5,250. So let me read that one again. If you see a Satsuma vase, Buddha, Immortals, Saints, Scrolling Dragon, gold, white, blue, handles, don't throw it away. Okay, back to you.
I have a beagle named Dinger. He showed up during baseball season summer before last. We could have chosen Homer, Tater, Garner, Laser, or Rocket to express our feelings about an adorable pooch wandering into our yard, but Dinger just seemed right. In hindsight, maybe we should have gone with Nibbler or Chewy or Chunky. You get the picture. He likes to eat. It's his favorite thing. Dinger's diligent dining has become a problem. He'll never be in shape for swimsuit season. He insists that midnight snacking is better than a thigh gap. He scoffs at grain-free diet, slipping pizza crust from the toddler with a stealth reserved only for such occasion. I've seen Cheeto crumbs in his eyelashes. Dinger is relatable, but if he's going to have a beach bar, now this time to buckle down. He shouldn't eat a pint of ice cream for dinner, even if it has fruit chunks. He can try a Manhattan chick gluten-free vegan diet with light wheatgrass smoothies. Dogs should love that. They eat grass sometimes. It's a challenge for Ding because he's short. 5 pounds looks like 10 when you're short. I've told him that nothing tastes as good as being thin feels, but he just looks at me with those warm brown eyes that seem to say, I doubt it. Curves his dewy peepers imply are peeling, and then he wallows around in bed. Then he's almost outgrown, letting out a long gurgle, satisfied with himself. Sometimes I forget he's around, and then I open the fridge and he nearly knocks my feet out from under me. His heft makes an impact. The neighbor's tiny chihuahua could never move me like that. Eating wasn't always Dinger's greatest joy in life. He had a girlfriend. Her name was Scraps. Can you believe it? She pestered him tirelessly. He acted all irritated, but if her attention wandered elsewhere, he'd nudge her back into their little game. Then she moved away, and he consoled himself with, well, Scraps. I love Dinger. I want to give him all the yummies, but I know that wouldn't be good for him. Love takes work and discipline. It's not all biscuits and cheese. Sometimes it's raw babies and trust issues. You know what they say, a minute on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. And my boy deserves a lifetime lacking achy knees and diabetes. I don't think downward facing the dead dog is a very good yoga pose. Dinger had his last donut, his final fondue, his pancake, and his terminal tart. Yes, it's the end of the rocky road for me. Dinger.
Okay, let's see how much of this one I can do. We have just a few minutes left. Fighting scab disease on pecan trees. Dear Roger, I am ready to buy my pecan trees. You promised when I called you in September that you would write again about the trees that don't get scabs. Dear Pete, I wrote about scab on pecans last summer, but many people have asked for a reprise. Here's an updated version of my summer column on pecans. So here again is what I've written more or less in the past about scab disease and how to thwart it. The best solution is to plant scab-resistant trees. They are listed at the end of the column. Scab is the most damaging pecan disease. It is caused by the fungus Cladosporium carriginum. It attacks foliage, twigs, and developing fruit. The disease causes small black concentric circles. Severe infections cause defoliation. Nuts abort or are poorly filled. A severe infection means no nuts. Scab is active throughout the growing season. The severity of the disease depends partly on the weather. Rain is needed for spore germination and infection. Several hours of wetness are needed for infections to become established. Late afternoon rains that cause trees to stay wet overnight provide prime conditions for scab. The disease is an increasing problem for the main commercial varieties grown in the Cape Fear region, including Desirable, Sheckley, Cape Fear, and Stewart. Control can require 9 to 11 fungicide sprays per season. Home growers generally are not able to do such spraying. They do not have a large enough crop to justify the expense. You can reduce scab levels through sanitation. Remove old leaf and nut debris from the ground or till it under. Shucks and leaves remaining in the tree at the end of the year should be removed. Infected stems should be pruned away. Choosing trees for yard planting, use cultivars that are rated as resistant to scab disease. There's no guarantee that the resistance will be maintained. Scab can, like a virus, change and adapt genetically, so trees that are resistant may eventually lose their resistance to more effective strains of scab. Many cultivars that were originally considered resistant, such as Sheckley and Desirable, are now considered very susceptible. This concludes our reading of the Sunday Fayeville Observer. Your radio hosts have been
Jennifer Kim
and Wanda. Coming up next, the broadcast of the Harnett County News, the Rayford News Journal, and the Robesonian. We've enjoyed being with you this evening. Thank you for tuning us in. Have a wonderful day.